Hey everyone. So Johnny Chainsaw and I made our first podcast, and we found this app called Anchor. It was really easy. Once we found it, it really brought things together. So you can record and edit your podcast right from your phone or from your computer. You can hear it on Spotify, Apple, a bunch of other places. It really is kind of everything that you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Good morning, good evening, and good night, Galaxy. I am Johnny Chainsaw. I'm joined today with my co-host AZPotato. We're both players on Server 22, Star Trek Fleet Command. Between the two of us, we represent number 1 and number 2 in the Power Destroyed rankings. AZPotato is number 1 on our server in power, and he's number 3 in resources rated. Today's a pretty special day because, one, this will be hopefully the first of many of podcasts that come in the future. And number 2, as a special treat in the background, you're going to be able to see 10,000 PvP chests being opened. A little bit about myself and Potato. As similar as our playstyles are, they couldn't be as different also. I'm very strong into PvP, and AZPotato, he's a well-rounded player in both PvP and PvE with some super strong ships, and he's going to be able to give us some really good insights on Warp 75, Dark Space, and what we as lower players can expect to see in the future. But yeah, Potato, if you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself to the Galaxy.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. I'm glad to be here, and you're right, our play styles are significantly different and then similar at the same time, and you know, as our server knows, you and I are probably the most unlikely pair, right, in the number of battles we've had over the since the game began, to be together on a podcast. But it's interesting to kind of compare our styles and our thoughts on the game and see where things are similar and where they're different. So really glad to be here and talk through some of the different topics that we have.
Yeah, definitely. You know, what do you think about the game currently, where it stands right now? I know there's been some problems lately with stuck ships and apps crashing and whatnot, but what do you think that the progression of the game has been from its initial release date to now?
You know, there's been a pretty good effort, I think, on like adding new content along the way and correcting bugs and fixing things, and there's still some out there. I would agree with you, the stuck ships, not like it used to be where the ship would get stuck literally in a spot for days, but you know, getting stuck in battle at the most inappropriate time you can think of, right? Right when you need that ship, it gets stuck. That can be frustrating.
The most inopportune moments is when it happens, when you're raiding a base or trying to, you know, hit a target real quick and escape from a hostile player.
Yeah, and the game crashing, I've probably seen it more recently, and while that can be frustrating, or the lockup, you know, where chat locks up, there's some kind of minor things, and I think that the development team's aware of them and they're working on them. But compared to when the game very first started, right, in the very early days, it's a lot better with a lot more stuff to do, right, to distract you and keep you going and keep you occupied. You've got a lot of options.
Yeah, and, you know, definitely. I think one of the things that really sticks out to me is just scanning stations. I remember when this game first came out, you'd have to go in to a system, individually click on a station, go into it and see what their resources were. Now, it's as quick as clicking on that station and hitting that loot chest and seeing exactly what kind of resources they have available to raid. So I think the game in that standpoint has progressed very well, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and along those lines, it's all about rating, right? And that topic. like when I learned to raid early on, and Crabulon taught me everything I know about raiding, it was significantly different than it is today. One, everybody was a much lower level, right? The server was a lot more equal, but it was, you took damage on your attack ships, you took damage on your mining ships, everything took damage. Then it progressed a little with the introduction of some new ships, and now we're closer back to that original state, but a lot more options, and really opens it up for a lot more players to participate in raiding, or at least in draining, than it did early on.
Yeah, definitely. And, to kind of steal one of your lines is, with a big horizon, you used to be able to Black Betty base. And if anybody out there listening isn't sure what Black Betty is, it's when you're able to go one-shot a station with a horizon and get a pretty decent cargo load, or if you're lucky like Potato and you have a very large faction miner, you could go one-shot a station with that, and you would get a nice one-shot hit. The game now with station defense has changed a lot, so that's not really possible, except maybe with the Vidar. What do you think about the Vidar for station raiding?
Across the board, I think the Vidar currently is one of the best ships in the game. It is really versatile. It's not used only for Borg. And when it comes to raiding, it's definitely a game changer, kind of an approach and strategy. But if you're in that level 25 to 30 range, the Vidar completely changes everything you can do with raiding and playing the game and the power of ships you can have.
Yeah, and even to go one step further on the Vidar, I definitely see the Vidar having daily goals very similar to the Franklin has with Swarms. I mean, the Vidar is going to have value in this game for months and months to come. And, don't get me wrong, too, it's a nice ship, too, because it has a really fast impulse speed, and if anybody is cruising around with battleships, you know how slow battleships can be. And it's really nice to have the change of that super quick impulse speed for Interceptor. So I do enjoy that aspect, and I think we'll see a lot more to come with the Borg arc being developed.
Yeah, I hope we do. And not just for Borg. I really think the Vidar, especially if you're in that level 25 to level 30 range, because you can't build it till 25, it's by far the most powerful ship you could possibly own in the game. Right, up until you get into that level 30. But even when you look at the first tier of faction attack ships, when you're looking to Mayflower, the D3, the Vidar is far stronger than they are until you get those maxed out. And even then, I think the Vidar is probably stronger than a maxed out Mayflower.
Yeah, and if there's any listeners out there who maybe are lower levels and they're getting close to that 26 range and they're trying to make the decision, do I want to go with the D3 or do I want to go with the Vidar? Hands down, without a doubt, go Vidar. I wouldn't waste any time with the D3 because you will outgrow that ship very quickly. It may seem like a long ways away for some lower level players, but once you hit that 26 to 28, level, it goes pretty fast, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I completely agree. Right, and the Vidar is cheaper to repair and cheaper to build than any of the faction ships for sure. And eventually you'll outgrow it, right? Just like you outgrow the Mayflower or the D3 over time. Not that those are bad ships; they're not. They're very useful, but I think right now, in comparison, the Vidar clearly is far superior to those.
Yeah, and it's a nice little PvP ship too. And I think that kind of brings us to our next topic of the PvP versus the PvE playstyle that a lot of the Galaxy does. I mean, for anyone from Server 22 knows, I'm all in on PvP. I think you found a nice balance with PvP and PvE in the sense that, you're one of the top raiders on the server. You got some pretty monster ships, but you're also maxing out rep on Klingon, Romulan, and Federation. Now, what are your thoughts a little bit about PvP versus PvE?
one of the cool things about this game is there's a lot of different things to do depending on what your play style is, and I try to get the most out of it. So I like PvP. I'm not so much kind of a just go kill everything, right? There's generally a purpose to it, but there is nothing.
I'm definitely a go kill everything player.
Yes, you are.
Anything I can beat, I'm gonna go after that ship.
Yeah, but you know what? I like raiding bases when defenders show up. There's nothing better than a good neighborhood brawl, and just, you know, that's the whole reason that we build up these big attack ships, is so we can go use them and blow up stuff, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, it's nice to be able to go do missions and events, hostile killing events, mining events, whatever they are, and just experience the whole breadth of the game. Whether you pay money to play, or whether you're free to play, there's options for you, right? And,
yes.
But I also think PvP is an important, very important aspect of the game. Is, you know, everybody likes blowing something up.
Yeah, especially pixelated ships. Nothing's, you know, for me, that's what I've taken out of this game as one of the things that's really attracted me to Star Trek Fleet Command is that PvP. But also, raiding in this game is so important for so many reasons. You know, at the real high levels, I think you hit a little bit of a par scale wall in the sense that a lot of your building upgrades become 1 billion par scale, and I'm sure you'll be able to inform some of the lower level players on exactly those costs, but at my level, where I'm sitting right now today at level 33, a lot of my builds are still either right at 100 million par scale or right below. So anytime I get a good raid in, call it 100 million total in resources, that one raid is significantly beneficial to me as a player because I am able to upgrade my station and have resources to repair ships and stuff like that. Now, where do you see the future of the game going with that par scale wall that I'm sure you're hitting right now at your level?
Yeah, you know, I don't know where they're going to go with the game on it, but you're right. There's kind of a wall when you and there's a couple of them along the way on what you need versus how big of bases you can raid, and this combination of, you know, the bigger that players get, the longer they've been in the game, the better they are at shielding. So there's less of those, you know, kind of giant bases to go raid, and they take a long time to do as well.
Yeah, and your strongest ship is your ISS Jelly, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is right around the 6.3 million mark. What's the biggest station you could pretty much one-shot with that big ISS Jelly?
I would say probably if I look at a base and it's 20 million in power, with or without ships home, that's a one-shot target for sure. Once you get like to your level, around level 33 plus, just because of buildings and research that you've done and the ships that you have access to, that's when it's going to be, you know, wait for that 10-minute timer. But 20 million power and below, that's definitely one shot, crack the base, wait 10 minutes, and then go drain it.
Yeah, I know you have a pretty big enterprise too. Now, how would you say your enterprise, which is attainable at level 34 for a lot of players, versus your ISS Jelly, where would you say they compare, not only in strength but utility and just growth between that level 34 and where you're at now?
You know, the ISS Jelly was it clearly is a powerful ship, right? I mean, no question about it. That thing's really strong. And it's expensive to upgrade, and it's a 4-star ship, which adds some other elements to the research. But the Enterprise is, I think mine's about 4 million right now in power. It's a great ship. It's just slow to upgrade, but it's a lot cheaper than the Jelly is. But that combination of ships, when you go to crack a base and it takes multiple hits, having, you know, a ISS Jelly and an Intrepid and an Enterprise, where you can kind of do those combos, that really you can burn through a base's defenses pretty quickly. unless you get into the really high-level players, and then it's you got to plan for an hour and a fairly significant resource investment to crack them.
Yeah, and I know you just talked about how the ISS jelly is pretty expensive to repair, and I know for me and a lot of lower-level players, we might not really understand exactly how much resources goes into one of those repairs, not only through just titanium costs, but also repair times. And you're also special in the sense that you're able to reach warp 75 and you have one of the 4-star or G4 binders. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what those cost to repair also, as well as the jelly?
Yeah, so the jelly, right now, it's about 9 million tritanium per repair and like 19 hours in repair time, right? So you're using burning a bunch of speed ups and a lot of resources. So when you raid, you got to make sure you're hitting something where you're going to get 9 million back out of it, or you're doing it for fun, right? Which is also an option. But when you get into those G4 ships like the Hydra, the Hydra at tier 4 is like 48 million tritanium per repair, and it holds a lot, but a maxed out Antares actually mines faster, right? Until you get the Hydra to about tier 5 or tier 6, that's kind of that crossover point. But the repair costs on it are significant. And then knowing other people that have, like the Kelvin, for example, those are like 135 or 138 million tritanium per repair. So that's like a custom Corvette you pull out of your garage to let people look at it on the driveway once in a while, more than make it usable, because you just have to raid or mine continuously just to keep up with repairs.
Yeah, and at 138 million for tritanium just for one repair from the Kelvin, that's that's actually, for me, would be a great raid to be able to raid 138 million tritanium. But for some of these guys at your level, that's one repair. But I think what a lot of people out there listening, they might not even know what ship the Kelvin is, because it is a G4 ship. It's pretty much the next ship after the Jelly. But where the Jelly, you have to do the event to obtain it. Kelvins, you're able to actually find blueprints, throughout the systems if you're hitting high enough level hospitals. Now, in your experience, have you ran across a lot of Kelvin blueprints?
Not a lot of them, but they are attainable, and they drop in systems that are part of kind of, call it normal space, in the faction areas, right? So if you really want to go hunt for blueprints, for like the Hydra or the Kelvin, for example, or their equivalents across the other factions, if you go, they're easier than you might think to kill, but they're not something like a level 26 player can go take care of. But Sol, Kronos, and Romulus, those three systems, the hostiles in there that are level 55, I think, they will drop Hydra, Kelvin Prince, and then the equivalents across the other factions.
Sure. And, right now, everybody's just watching chests being opened nonstop, 50 chests at a time that are PvP chests. Now, with those higher level hospitals, have you seen a big difference in your rewards for, say, killing a level 55 hostile for PvE chests? Or are you still getting random kill a blueprint drops and you're shaking your head saying, I don't need a level 20 Kara at my level?
Oh no, that's one thing I do like. As you progress in levels, things change. Like the rewards change. Event rewards change for the rewards that you get from those. The drops that you get out of hostile chests change as well, and so do the packs. Right. So if you are spending money and you go buy a pack, the rewards are pretty different when you're at level 26 versus when you're buying one at level 40. Like very big difference in what you get out of them.
Yeah, I would definitely, for all the players out there listening, they definitely need to know that all of the packs get better at even levels. So if you're a level 25 to 26, the packs are going to always change at that even level. So if you, in my opinion, of course, I know you're a strong believer and you need to max out all your buildings before you go to your next upgrade. I believe that you should always do your best to speed through the odd level. So if I'm a level 24, take your time, build up everything, get everything maxed for 24. Speed through 25 as fast as you can to get that odds upgrade, because your rewards are going to change for events. Your rewards are going to change for your 30-day daily token pack. And if you are spending money, yes, everything that's offered in the store is going to get better for you too. So what do you think about that? Just speeding through odd levels.
I guess I'm still a fan of max out your research, max out your buildings before leveling up. Just because when you do level up, somebody else has more access to come and raid your base, right? And
Sure.
and the people that you're going to battle. So I still tend to go with that. But if you're going to spend, wait till you cross over that even level mark into the next even level, so that, if you're 27 and you're thinking about going to 28 and you're thinking about making a purchase, right? I'd wait till 28 to make the purchase and try and push it along. There's probably some other considerations for leveling up too, like, going from 26 and then speeding through 27 to 28 makes sense because you get that fourth dock, right?
Yes.
And that's a huge change to the game dynamic. And there's a couple other points. 28's a really big level, but there's also a lot of research that gets done at 26 that matters
Yes.
to help you get to 28 at the right point.
And people out there, it's always the good question is, what are the two most important things you should be doing in the game? A lot of people say, work on your officers, work on your research. I think they go hand in hand with each other. At my level, I have very few maxed out officers. They're mainly the cadets that I have maxed out, especially Scotty. Anyone listen here, max out Cadet Scotty, because once you max out Cadet Scotty, you're going to get a +5 to your war bridge. And you will use that Cadet Scotty forever. There will never be a time, unless you somehow hit the end goal where you can reach the last possible system, you will always use that Scotty. But what do you think about officers' power and research? Like, how important are both of those just for this game?
They're huge. And, early on, like when I was much lower level, I really focused on research and buildings were the two most important things. And it really was, I just sort of threw officers on the ships, like the strongest officers went on the ships. And I didn't have a good understanding of the dynamics of officers, of synergy, of what their, captain abilities and bridge officer abilities really did. But what I found was officers are absolutely critical. The more time you can spend building up officers and understanding them and building the right ones up, right? So you mentioned Scotty, and he was great for discovery and going and finding the next missions. I personally probably haven't used Scotty in months, partly because I have a lot of other officers built up, but and I have ships that can get places, right? But there's some critical officers that you got to understand what they do and how they work together, because it changes your game a lot, right? How many hostiles you can kill, how fast you can mine, what kind of PvP battles you can have against other players, what types of ships you're hitting. But that's one that you really want to spend time reaching out to other people in your alliance and getting guidance from them on crew mix is maybe like an art that people don't realize how important it is really to the gameplay.
Yes. So when you were at lower levels, did you reach out to other players and just kind of say, hey, am I running the right crew setup or what? Because, a lot of the advice I want to give to people listening to this is reach out to those players. Again, we're from server 22. so we might be saying names of players on our server, but there's players that have knowledge of officer and crew setups across all servers. But was there anybody you reached out to for that?
You know what? Early on, I realized it was a topic I didn't understand well, but nobody did, right? Early on. But I will say there are 3 people that I know of who are just superior at understanding officers and crew mix and have a level of knowledge that really changed the game for a lot of players. Coitus is one, Big Steph is another, and Wild Wazoo. Those 3 guys have a depth of understanding and kind of crew mixes and the dynamics, and they test things that will like more than double the number of hostiles you can kill in one run, right? Or increase the size of ship in PvP that you can hit by another 50%, or on armadas really change the game on what level armada a team can do, because crew mix really matters.
Yeah, and armadas, I think that was one of the biggest struggles for a lot of people at the beginning, was exactly the right crew setups, because you can't have the same officer on different ships because they're not going to activate and stuff. And me personally, I wasn't too thrilled with how Armadas was designed in the game. I don't really want to go too much on a tangent on Armadas, but yeah, the crew setups were definitely tricky when it came to that. But anybody out here listening, reach out to one of those players Potato just mentioned, and give Big Steph blow up his inbox with a lot of questions. I'm sure he'll help everybody answer. But that kind of brings us a little bit to alliances now. And alliances are a great dynamic for the game. Definitely would say every alliance has that one person out there who's like the big complainer. And if you're listening to this podcast and you don't really know who the big complainer in your alliance is, it's probably you. But what do you think about just like the alliance dynamic? I know you floated around, you've been at a couple different alliances, you've been at an alliance that ended up dissolving, and you've been in some pretty strong alliances and one of the top on the server. But what do you think about just dynamic between alliance members and different alliances?
One alliances are a great thing, and it's all about find the alliance that helps you fit your play style. That's really important. But what I found in the alliances that I've been part of, and I've been really lucky, right? I started in Maki, like MAQU was the first alliance, and that one got blown up. We had a big battle early on. I think I was like level 15 or 17 or something. And then Crabulon invited me to Shadow. He recruited me there. Really good group of players. I moved over to Kaz when we started that. That also, great group of really dynamic, active, passionate players. And then NGNS also, and that was a group of people who, 6 months before should have never been in an alliance together because we were always at war. But all active players and truly, truly good people, right? Like in real life. They really care, they're passionate, they're playing the game for a reason, and they're active.
Yeah, and you talk about really, truly good people, and it's funny that you mentioned both Shadow and Kaz, because there's one player when you mention both those alliances that, besides yourself, there's one name that instantly comes to mind, and that's Trum. And for anybody out there listening, Trum is just one of these really good guys. He's constantly in Galaxy chat. He's like a constant negotiator. Whenever people are feuding in Galaxy chat, he'll come in, drop a couple lines. He always makes jokes about owning his own taco shop in space, just like that fun Galaxy chat weird dynamic. But he's definitely one of the best all-around people, I would say, in this, at least in our server 22. What do you think about Trump?
I love that guy. I mean, one, he brings a lot to the game. And not from a go blow up ships or go earn and win events, but he brings a dynamic to the game that really adds a lot of flavor, I'll say, right, and kind of along the top of the line. But he contributes a lot to player morale, to the community at large, And he's one of the ships, honestly. Like, I tend to avoid hitting him, just because the guy contributes so much to everyone, right, across all alliances.
Yeah, no, I've never had a bad experience with him, but I don't PM in-game with a lot of different players, mainly because I am so strongly on PvP and I don't believe in rules of engagement and stuff like that, so there's a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of animosity out there towards my playstyle, but I've always had great conversations with him in PM, and it's always fun to get him going in Galaxy Chat, but he's all around a great guy, and I would really like to bring some of those personalities in our server into this chat, or into this podcast, and trying to get a little bit of, hearing these, putting a voice to names, especially with Trump. I think he would be a good possible guest.
Yeah, I would agree, right? And there's one other guy out there that I think he kind of sits in the background a lot, but does some pretty interesting things, and that's Anchor Clanker. And he's with Track now, and he was in Shadow with me, and we were in Kaz together. He's been a couple of places. But the one really interesting thing that he continues to put together is an alliance that's there to develop other players, right? And the entire intent is newer players coming in. He has a lot of knowledge, can train them, and he's friendly with a lot of the biggest players or most experienced players on the server to capture information from them and share it with younger players, and then help them find the alliance that they eventually want to go to that fits their play style. So I'd like to call him out as just a major contributor to what can get done as a community.
Yeah, and those call and starter builder alliances, they are super important, because as a new player, it's really good to have somebody out there with a wealth of knowledge that you can bounce ideas off of and really understand, because, especially me and you who downloaded this game pretty much when it first came out, we had to discover all this different stuff ourselves, and there's a lot of time and effort that goes into testing out different crew loadouts and really understanding, how can I maximize rating, how can I maximize hidden ships. How many people I've had in my alliance chats that post a base and say, oh, you want to go hit this? And pretty much saying, hey, listen, this guy's at vault level, so he's not really worth the amount of res it's going to take to crack him. So yeah, alliances like that are very good. And for any of the new players out there listening to this podcast who think they might be in an inactive alliance, they need to move. Shoot out a request to Galaxy Chat, ask if any alliances are looking, and I would move. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you definitely want to be in an active alliance, right? So it's not about having the most number of players or the highest power players in your alliance, right? Those things both contribute, for sure. But if you have a really strong inactive player in your alliance, they're not helping. You want to be in an alliance that has active players that fit your style, right? And whatever their ROE is, which is probably a topic we'll get to next, that kind of fits what you want to do for those rules of engagement and chat and what you do in alliance chat, who you get to know. But I would say, I've made true, real life, better than acquaintance, right? Friends on this server, being in different alliances that are wonderful. Right, I mean that's a major part of the game, is that social interaction and meeting people and understanding who they are and where they come from. It's a fantastic aspect of the game.
Yeah, and you say about different alliances, especially when it comes to ROE. The alliance that I'm in, the alliance is JLP for anyone outside of server 22, and in our alliance, we're a group of solo players, but we're still in the same alliance because we're seeking out alliance rewards. But we also don't want to be bogged down by other alliances' ROE. And on our server, I would say the baseline ROE for a lot of players is no hitting miners who are not overprotection, giving 5-minute warnings to miners on zero mines. I personally hate ROE. I think it's the downfall of the game. I think people spend way too much time with the politics of rules of engagement, and whenever people get hit on zero mines, they're without a 5-minute warning. The instant response to everybody is, I wasn't zero. And for the JLP play style, we just don't care. Any player could go play their style. And within our alliance, even though we have no alliance ROE, we still do have other players in our alliance that actually follow ROE. But I think this brings us a little bit to the topic of, how do you feel about ROE when it comes to Warp 40, Warp 75, and just in basics?
You know, and this is a place where probably you and I don't completely agree, like on the ROE side. I like the fact that there's some kind of social, we're all on the server together, let's play together well, kind of general rules that make sense for everyone. So, like the undercargo miners, I don't hit undercargo miners for the most part. The warning thing, I don't sit and watch somebody's timer go to zero, but if you've been sitting there at zero, then come on, you're just holding a node that somebody else could be using. So,
yeah.
So my thoughts on ROE have drifted from the general norm, but I like having some basic rules. On the other hand, I don't like when we have rules that get to the point of, let's eliminate PvP from the game, because it's an important aspect.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there really trying to make a big push, at least on our server. I'm going to guess on a lot of servers in general, to almost eliminate PvP, to make it where you're not allowed to hit people in warp space, you're not allowed to hit them in swarm space, you're not allowed to hit them on mines, you're not allowed to hit battleships on mines, you're not allowed to hit an augment space. Just a list of rules that became a mile long. And
yeah, we need less rules on that, right? And when you mention like the Warp 40 space, when players could first get there, right? When we saw the first players getting to Warp 40, there was an agreement that became this kind of universal thing that was probably way beyond what it should have been. And I will tell you, like Warp 75 space on our server anyway right now, there is no alliance pact around Warp 75 space. There's a limited group of players, like 10 or less probably right now, who can get there, who have generally agreed with each other individually not to go hit each other, right? And so I go up there and I mine next to Logris, and he goes over cargo, and there's other nodes available. But we don't hit each other, but it's truly just a player-to-player agreement. It doesn't carry over to alliances. And I think that works better, because soon a whole bunch more people are going to get there. And then I think either the normal kind of ROE, if you're in an alliance that subscribes to that, should apply. But it shouldn't be a special, different thing for that space only. It complicated the game, and it actually blew up a lot of relationships and alliances along the way as the Warp 41 kind of devolved.
Yeah, and for the Warp 41, it was one of our members in one of our JLP sister alliances. The player's name was Gandan, and in JLP we call him the hero of Warp 40 because I think he dismantled that House of Cards, because that Warp 40 pack, for a lot of players, I don't know, I think, I hate to use the word fair, because of what is fair in this game or what's not, but there was a lot of people who were monopolizing a lot of the mines in Warp 40, and so what he did was he pretty much went in and disassembled that Warp 40 pack. It seemed almost overnight. It was a very quick progression, but that kind of brings me a little bit to just the events that we have, because there is a strong lack of PvP events. And personally, a PvP event I would like to see would just be a stripped down, very basic event, just power destroyed. For every 1 point you get in power destroyed, you get 1 point towards the event, because I think that would lead to total mayhem, and I would love to see a server or a galaxy just at war with each other. Right now, as the PvP events stand, there was a PvP event for some of the newer players listening. Probably don't remember, never even heard this, but there was a PvP event that was very similar like that, where for every ship you destroyed, you got points, so every mining system was at war. And then there's been a couple of PvP events with just faction ships in certain sectors of space, so certain systems where if you hit a faction ship, you would get points, but anyone who didn't have a faction ship wasn't able to participate, and it more or less just became people hitting other players' ships to complete the event. Like, is there a PvP event you would like to see?
No, I would like to see one that involves PvP, but at least, I have an account on another server as well, and what I see there is similar in ROE. There's a lot of players that are free to play, for sure, and absolutely count on being able to mine to be able to progress. So I wouldn't want to see something where you just go blow up miners, but attack ships on attack ships and just go have a good, galaxy-wide brawl across anything would be neat to see. But I think there would need to be some restrictions in, hey, if you're level 41, you're just not getting points if you go blow up a Kamari on somebody who's level 26, right? That doesn't make sense.
No thanks. Yeah, I'm totally for it. I would love to see your ship going around hitting everybody. And with mining too, if you make rewards for events like a PvP event, if you make those rewards worth it, then people won't really mind not getting their dailies. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. People would definitely mind. There's nobody in this game that minds and likes their ships getting hit, but it's part of the game. And some of these people, I think if a PvP event ever was to come up, would be in a big reality check of how vulnerable miners really are.
Oh yeah, well you get the warning, and miners are vulnerable, and you're at risk, and it's not just a mining game, right? Mining is an aspect that's important, right, for you to get the resources. But I just, maybe you scale the points based on how close the other player is to your level. But I would like, without coming up with the rules for it on my own, I would like to see a little bit more PvP event content. And get people out using the ships that they spent all that time mining to get the resources to upgrade and get powerful attack ships that they don't ever use. And that's kind of the point. You want a really big ship so you can go blow stuff up.
Yeah, blowing stuff up in this game is fun. Whether it's, for me, whether it's a miner ship, it's a battleship, or it's a station, it's attainable for a lot of players. Like, any player, if you want to go out into the galaxy and look for some PvP fun, you will find it. And the way I found it is being hunted across multiple systems by multiple alliances and being more or less kill on sight for, I want to say, close to most, if not the entire server, with the exception of my alliance and sister alliances. But I know me and you had a lot of back and forth when this game first came out. I don't know if we were definitely in competition constantly, and especially that chase.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then I, kind of my response to what you were out there doing, and it does frustrate people, and you know that, right? Was,
yep.
Well, hey, if Johnny Chainsaw is going to go hit this system and clear all the miners, I just stopped mining there, and I found a different spot, and I found a way to upgrade a ship so I could stay ahead of where you were. Right? It didn't always work, but I just, my response was, don't go where you're going to hit. And a lot of people do. They insist on, I get blown up, I'm going to go right back there. Well, geez, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. And I think, at least on our server, there's definitely people now have to think a little bit more about what they're going to do for mining. I run a Bornus because I'm strictly Klingon, I'm getting pretty close to getting my D4, which some of the people from server 22 have probably just heard those words and they just cringed a little bit hearing that Johnny's going to be getting a D4. But I skipped the Burrell at level 32 and ordered the same on faction credits. But I'm running into an issue right now where I'm getting very close to hitting my Klingon rep at 30 million. And as you know, when I get to that 30 million mark, I'm going to have to be required to buy G4 materials, and obviously at level 33, that's not a possibility right now. So I'm doing my best to max out my daily goals and get those faction credits I need for my D4, but I'm also running into this, 30 million wall where I can't buy G4, so I can't get my dailies anymore. I'm not going to be able to get faction credits. And what do you think about just that dynamic and doing dual faction or triple factions? Because I know you are triple faction, correct?
Yep, yeah, I've locked all three of them, and and I didn't even know that they locked until I'd hit level 30, right? And Pacifist Prime is the one who, I think he might have been the first one to lock one of the factions and told me about it.
Pacifist Prime might have been one of the first people, I would say, in this game. I don't really know a lot about other servers, but he did lock in all three factions very, very early in this game.
Yeah, but he also put in a lot of effort to get there. My point on that was once we found out that a faction locked, right, and apparently it was a bug, and they rebugged it to make it happen, I would have changed things a lot. I spent a lot of time and energy trying to balance two factions and keep them up there. Had I known this early on, I would have just gone for one faction, then worked on the next one, then the next one, rather than try and balance them, because the speed you can lock a faction in, if you really focus on it, is better. Get all three locked in, and then, of course, right now, once you have all three locked, you got to pick one, because they don't lock at every level, right? You got to go all the way, and the curve gets a little bit steeper as you go, but locking those factions in gets you access to the ships that you want, and then you figure out what direction you want to go, and until somebody finds out when you cap out a faction at whatever it is now, 1.5 billion points, does it lock again? And I haven't seen the answer to that question yet.
Yeah, we probably won't see that answer for a pretty long time. I want to say some of the very, very top people are around 80 billion. And again, what's your most or your highest rep for any faction right now?
Right now, Fed for me is 90 million.
Okay.
But I've got to get to, I think, 140 million to open up the Kelvin for me.
Yeah. So what have you been doing in order to maximize credits at that level? Are you just going after traders? Are you going after explorers? What ships are you focusing on, especially with your ISS jelly to hit to get the most faction points as you can?
Traders are the way to go, right? There's so many more points for that. I'm sort of at a point where there's no missions that I can get to right now with the warp range, because I can get to warp 100, but the next missions are at 105. So I can't do those. So it really is about, you got to go hunt faction hostiles, and you got to grind through 50 or 60 million points worth of them. Now, luckily, they give you more points. And there's some other players who have gotten there, right? They're a level ahead of me. I think Cotton Eye Joe is probably at that 140 million mark on Fed already. But that's pure effort. That's not something you can spend money on and get through. You have to sit down and just go kill hostiles.
Yeah, I would say hostile grinded. And PvP, power destroyed, there's no easy way to get high power destroyed numbers. The only way you're really going to get hostile numbers and power destroyed numbers is you just got to go around, and it takes a lot of time. But yeah, I'm very interested, especially for myself, and I'm sure a lot of the players at home listening to this podcast and watching probably the video of the PvP chest being open is over by now. but they really got to understand, like, it takes a lot of time, a lot of work to get here. But I'm looking forward to that dark levels, or dark space like you're at. And let me ask you a question. I know there's a triple mine up there. Is it one triple mine, or is there multiple? Is it a multiple systems? And what was the mission requirement for the triple mine? I know we just had a triple event, but they were different types of triple, correct?
Yeah, so there's an event where you do have to mine tribbles, and there's actually two systems, and they're both in Klingon space, up in dark space, where all of the nodes in those systems are tribble mines, basically, right? So you can mine tribbles. And it was for an event. Now, you only had to mine, like, a total, between all the steps of it, like 2,000 tribbles. And you could clear a node in, like, 12 minutes, right? And the nodes are only 1,000. But I did decide, hey, I can mine tribbles. I'm going to mine 1 million of them just so I can say I did. And so I mined 1 million tribbles, and it took a while to do that, of every 12 minutes resetting a node. But yeah, two systems, and all the nodes in those systems are tribbles, so there's plenty of space if you need to mine tribbles. But you're right, they didn't count towards the current event. They were just for, at least for now, they were just for a mission.
Yeah, you know, the new triple event we just had, I actually really enjoyed it. There was a little bit that came with it. They introduced a new mission arc for triples, and then they had the triple refining, where you started off with your 10 triples, and every couple hours you could refine those triples to get more triples. I thought that was a pretty cool thing Scopely did, and because it was different, right? And I think that's what we're looking for, is just different events.
Yeah, I agree. That one was kind of silly, right, and kind of fun, and it was based on, can you wake yourself up every 3 hours and refine your tribbles, right?
Yeah.
And then pure luck, right? You were just sort of spinning the wheel and seeing what you got. But it was different, and it was fun, and I'd honestly like to see them introduce more things like that give players that don't have really strong ships and don't spend money and don't do some of the other things that I do, right? Or that you do, a chance to win an event and an avatar and a bunch of other stuff that they normally wouldn't be on because they got lucky. And that's cool.
Think about that new triple Borg officer. I'm not a big miner. I don't think anybody out there is going to say, oh, JohnyChainsaw, the miner guy. Well, maybe the miner guy because I hit miners. But that new officer, the triple officer, 80% added to mining speed for all materials. That is a powerful officer. And a lot of people got a lot of free shards, so I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's mixed feelings on the benefit of the officer, right? Because the 80% increases on your base mining rate, not after you have T'Pring or Stan or Barat on the miner. So some people were disappointed. It's on the base mining rate. But I will say, it's an impressive officer at its first promotion. And on Latinum, that thing is magic, right? So if you're wondering about, is it useful? Absolutely yes. And I know a lot of people are disappointed they didn't get all the shards as part of it, but hey, it's an epic officer. It's purple. It's not one of the easy ones to get. So you got to work for it.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. Are there any lap mines in dark space, or is it more just G4 or gas crystal?
No, there's everything up there, right? So when you get into dark space, and an interesting thing about dark space is you can't scan the systems. Like, you can't see what's inside of them unless you have a ship or a station physically in the system, then you can see it, right? So you can't scan around and see who's there and who's mining what. You got to fly there to see. But
so you can't scan somebody if they're over protection unless your ship is actually in that system.
Correct.
Even though you've already gone to it, it's not like you unlock it where you can just go and do a system view.
Right. Yeah. If you want to go see what's there, you got to go there, right? And those flight times are big, right? From neutral space, it's like a 12 or 15 minute flight to get into dark space. So you got to do it on purpose.
Yes.
But everything is there. All the materials are there, right? Dilithium, par steel. The nodes are really big. There's not a lot of traffic right now. There's G4 material, and there are systems with lat nodes. But I will say on the lat node topic, they're not fast nodes, right? There's faster nodes in the normal faction space. The ones up in dark space are like 6,000 per hour. They're not special, right? They're not extra fast or anything like that. They're just big, right? I don't remember what they have in them, but it might be like, I mean, you could probably camp there forever and totally fill a Devore up, but they're not faster than what you would see in any other faction space.
Yeah, I know your Devore is max tier, correct? So what is your cargo capacity right now for that ship?
Oh boy, I don't even remember. I think protected capacity is like 52,000 on it, which is what I really pay attention to, right? Because in those events, as soon as you go over protected, that's when you start losing points if somebody hits you.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what the total capacity is, only because until 10 came out, that Borg Tribble, the where I was mining for those events was G4 material. So I put everything on G4 because it earned me points faster than it did mining Latinum.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people are out there listening and saying, how is he having a Vidar in Warp 75 space? But, you know, you'll be able to talk a little bit more, but from my understanding is, if you're stationed in dark space, you have access to all the surrounding systems where your station is located. So even though your Vidar might have a warp capability of, say, 45, you can still reach one of these systems as long as you're adjacent to the system that might have a warp requirement of, say, warp 75, even though your Vidar is warp 40, correct?
Yeah, so the way it works is once you can get there, right into warp 75 and one of the kind of those hub and spoke systems, right? The hub is generally where the G4 material is, and all the spokes are dilithium, titanium, latinum, right? And par steel. You move into one of those, you can get within that hub and spoke system, but you can't get anywhere else. You know what I mean? So you're sort of stuck in that kind of small circle of systems until you move your station.
Yeah. So I know we talked a little bit that Warp 75 people have more or less a pack, especially with big G4 miners. And you're talking 38, I think maybe you said 48 billion titanium to repair. But is there any one person that comes to mind? I know he's a JLP member who is hitting ships right now in Warp 75, and like, what do you think about like that dynamic?
Only one, right? So Terran Diablo is the only one that I know of who goes and hits miners there. But you know what? He's going to play his way, and he goes and does it. And it's sort of rough, but you know, it's his game to play his way. As annoying as it is, I can't fault him for it. Nobody else really does it.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, just so you know, just as an awareness, it looks like we've got about 2.5 minutes left on our recording, just to keep this under an hour. So why don't we just kind of go to kind of some closing stuff, and then some of the other topics we'll cover on our next episode.
Yeah, definitely. And to everybody out there listening to this, if you enjoyed this podcast and enjoyed the video of almost 10,000 PvP chests being open, I know Potato has a lot of good screenshots you'll be able to share in later videos, but drop a like, subscribe, and comment. You know, just let us know. Say, is there anything you would like to hear in the future? I'm sure being Potato out there, we have a lot of fans and a lot of hated people, but I appreciate everybody listening in. You have any closing thoughts, Potato?
Yeah, you know, shield up is the most important skill you can have in the game, is learning how to manage your shields. Fly safe, shield up, have fun, and remember it's a game, and don't ever let it leap from your screen to your soul. Just go enjoy it. We're here for entertainment.
That's great advice, man. All right, this is Johnny Chainsaw and Potato signing off. Good morning, good evening, and good night, Galaxy. I am Johnny Chainsaw. I am joined by my co-host, AZPotato. Both of us, we are on server 22. Together, we make up number 1 and number 2 on the leaderboard rankings for Power Destroyed. AZPotato is number 1 in Power on server 22. And AZPotato is also number 3 in Resources Rated on server 22. Hopefully this will be the first of many of our podcasts to come. Just kind of talking about our thoughts on the game and stuff along that nature. And also today we got a very special treat, 10,000 PvP chests being open. So enjoy the video and enjoy the discussion.